Hey gang, AV here, and welcome to my review of the Boss Fight Studios Vitruvian Hacks Felonious, the Wandering Mage. Here he is in the package. As you can see, he's not a blister card, but he is a carded figure. It's in collector-friendly packaging. It's basically held on there with these plastic flaps. You just bend the flaps and remove the card and gain access to the figure itself. Here is the card artwork, his name, his occupation. It's an adult collectible. In case you're wondering what HACS stands for, because it is an acronym, it's Highly Articulated Character Kit System. There's the bubble, so you can see the figure, the majority of the items that come with him, if not all of the items. And flip it over, and as you can see, he does have a file card, which is awesome. I actually put my example away, so I'm gonna bide for time here, but it's the same size as the old school G.I. Joe file cards, pretty much. As you can see, roughly about the same size. And I love the fact that they include that. If you'd like to read it, feel free to pause the video and do so now. Again, love the fact that that's included. It's a really nice touch. It helps to flesh out the characters, give them a hell of a lot more backstory and depth, and I really am excited about it. The fact that they take the time to not only write that stuff, but include it with the packaging itself so that you can clip and collect them just like we used to do with the file cards way back in the day. Here are other figures that are also available in the series. This was wave, that was wave 1, and this is wave 2. This is series 2 of the Boss Fight Vitruvian Hacks line. Series 2 is all fantasy-based figures. I do have all of these figures, I think. Maybe not her, but I do have all of them, for the most part. And I will be reviewing all of them, so keep an eye out on my channel for those videos when they come out, if you haven't seen them already. Here is a QR code to get to the Boss Fight online store, so feel free to use that to get there if you wish, or you could just type in the web address. And I think that about covers the packaging. Let's open it up. To do so, I typically just use this flap right here, bend it underneath the card, and then just slide the card out. And drop the figures trays out like this. And that's it. I have not opened this Felonious yet, believe it or not. I opened the exclusive one from the web store, but not this one. The exclusive one had a black cape and a removable hairpiece and so on. I've already reviewed that figure, so feel free to check it out if you haven't already. So let's adjust the camera. All right, as usual, we're gonna have a look at his accessories first. His accessories come bagged. I have mentioned before that these figures are in collector-friendly packaging, which means that they can be opened up and then removed and then put back and resealed. So you do want to be careful. You want to make sure that all of the items are included with the figure when you purchase it. All right, so in the bag, you have a figure display base, which is in the shape of the Boss Fight Studio logo, and it has 2 foot pegs. These work great. I never had any issues either getting the figures to stand on them or having the figures stand while they're using it. They work fantastic. He has 2 sets of extra hands also in that bag. The one set of open palms, which are articulated. They can bend up and down. And I will be using these in conjunction with a lot of the accessories as I get them out of the tray. He also has an extra set of grasping hands. Now, I've mentioned in all my other videos that I am very excited about the extra set of hands that he comes with, because when you look at the figure, the hinge goes up and down, and the hinge on the extra set go in and out. So depending on how you choose to pose your figure, or whatever accessories you decide to pose him with, you can get the appropriate pose depending on which hands you choose to use. And I love the fact that they include both sets in with the figure, as well as taking the time to put the hinge there in the first place. I have noticed in the past that other reviewers of these toys have neglected to mention the difference in the hinges and why they gave you both sets. I guess they just overlooked that, and I just take the time to point it out because I figure it was worth mentioning. Let's get to the potions next. They are taped in, so bear with me. All right. He comes with 2 vials of potion. And just like the other Felonious, he comes with an empty vial and a red potion vial. These are really nice. They are really tiny, though. So this one is the clear one. It has a opaque finish to it, though. Slightly opaque to make it look like it's glass, and I think that's awesome. And it does have a painted cork. He also has, like I said, a red potion vial, which is still transparent, but clearly red, to make it look like it has red fluid in there, and a painted cork on that as well. These can be held in his open palm, but as you just saw, they're not secure in there. You have to be careful and bounce them in there. Or you can use his grasping hand to grab onto the neck of the bottle itself. I can do it. There we go. You just gotta wedge it in there. So he can hold these bottles however which way you like. He has a staff, just like any self-respecting wizard should. It's about 4 inches long, has a very nicely sculpted dragon on the top. And a spike on the bottom. He has a spell book. And I've said in the previous Felonious review that this is probably my all-time favorite accessory from the fantasy line for boss fight figures, simply because of how well detailed it is and how nice it looks. I mean, it does look like you could almost read that. Even the texture of the paper, it looks like actual parchment paper almost. I love the painted ribbon, and I will demonstrate why that peg is there in a second. Love the texture on the pages, on the sides of the pages, texture of the leather, book cover, as well as the painted fixtures on there, little Celtic symbol on the cover of the book. Very, very cool. Very cool. And that peg is there for this flame effect. Again, I've seen quite a few reviews of Felonious figures in the past, and some of them got it right, some of them didn't. I'm just going to set the record straight now. This flame effect is clear orange, catches the light in a way that actually makes it look like a flame, and it's got a peg hole in the bottom, and that peg hole is meant for the peg on the book, so that you can make it look like he's casting a spell and the flames are coming off the page. If you actually look at the card art, you can see the flames are coming off the page. So it's definitely why the peg is there, and why the flames have a peg hole in the bottom. I have seen other people, you know, use that peg hole to put it on top of the figure's thumb to make it look like the flames are coming out of his hand. And you know what? There's really nothing wrong with that. It actually looks halfway decent. Not opposed to that at all. It's just not the original intention for the flame. The original intention for the flame was to come off of the page. And speaking of the open palm hands, this is another reason why you have them with the figure, is so that he can hold his book. And again, it's just excuse me. It's just a gravity friction hold. There's nothing to actually grab onto, but when you have the figure posed, it does look natural enough that like he's holding the book in his open palm as he's casting the spell or reading the pages. But it doesn't hold securely in there, just so we're clear. He does have another book. This is actually a different book, not just because it's closed, but because the covers are different. This one is brown with gold fixtures on it, and of course it is locked closed. This can't be opened, but it is fully painted. It looks very nice. It also has this permanent molded chain on there with a peg, and that's so that you can store this on the back of the figure's belt, which I'll show off once I get the figure out of the tray. What else? He has a dagger, which I always have a tough time getting out, so I'm going to use this to help me out there. There we go. Nicely sculpted dagger. And there's also a spot on his belt to store this as well, which I'll demonstrate when I get there. He has a little animal companion in the form of a rat. I wasn't sure what to call this last time, a rat or a mouse, but frankly, it's big enough to be considered a lab rat, I guess. So I guess we're gonna go with rat. But as you can see, it is very well detailed. With molded fur, pink ears, the eyes are painted in, the nose, and the tail. Very nice accessory. I love this thing. This is going to look great once you have him in a dungeon or something. Very, very cool. Last accessory is his hood, which has a lip around the edge, and this is meant for it to fit more seamlessly on the top of his robe. Let's see how well that works. Now that we have the figure out of the package, he has molded on hair, which is going to make getting the hood on difficult. So he's probably going to have to pop the head off, slide it in through the front opening, and then put it on the figure. There we are. It's not too bad, it works. I'm sorry, I don't know how much of that was on camera. I was too busy focused on the figure itself. So, looks pretty good. Got it on there. Let's get that back off now, so I can demonstrate the hood itself a bit closer. Because of the molded hair, though, it is a little bit more difficult to get the head in and out of this hood. The other figure had removable hair, the black robe one, so you just slide the hood on and off. But here's what I was talking about. There is a lip around the edge of the top of the robe, and that's meant to be used with the lip on the underside of the hood so that you get a better, more seamless fit. It works, sort of. But, you know, it ain't perfect. This thing is also a topic of contention with me. It's a soft rubber. I love it and I hate it at the same time. It does break up the fabric very well. It makes it look a lot more believable. But the peg hole in the back can sometimes be a nuisance. This is actually not too bad. It found its mark pretty quick. But sometimes, because this is soft plastic and you're working from behind there, it has a tendency to bend instead of actually going into the peg hole for me. So it can be a nuisance, but this is actually working out pretty good. So that's great. I'm going to take it off for the sake of the articulation now. Let's get his head back on and have a closer look at the figure itself. Come on, focus. Huh, why don't you want to focus? There we go. Very nice likeness. Like the painted details as well as the molded ones on his belt. I am a fan of the fabric robe. I like fabric capes and robes whenever possible on my figures. I know some people don't like them, but as far as I'm concerned, it only adds to the possibilities when posing them. So these boot cuffs, they actually slide off of the figure if you try, so they're not molded onto the legs. But very nice, very nice. It's the first time I've actually opened the standard Felonious. I've had the exclusive one for so long. I'm pretty familiar with that one, but this one I like it. Very cool. Let's demonstrate his belt, and then I'll get into his articulation. So basically, like I said before, he has his place to stow his knife, which goes right back there. My phone is acting up. It's not wanting to focus for me. I apologize. All right. He's also got his book with a peg hole, and that goes right into the back of his belt here, just like that, so he can carry it around. And I've mentioned before in previous videos about these about the potion vials. I have seen people cram them into the hole so that he can carry it on his belt like that. And I've also seen people wedge it underneath his knife slot so he can carry it around like that. That they all work, but and I'm going to demonstrate this right now. I actually customized a figure a little while back, and I used Marauder Task Force C-clips when I did it. They're basically just accessories that you can get from Marauder Task Force. They cost like 20 cents each or something like that. They're very cheap, but basically they're just in the shape of a C. They have a peg so that you can plug it right into the holes on these belts, just like that one. And they hold the vials perfect. And like you saw, they come right out, in and out. They work great. Again, I got them from Marauder Task Force, their online store. They sell all sorts of 1/18th scale accessories and weapons and whatnot, as well as their own line of figures, too. They're the ones that made those World War II figures I reviewed. So if you're unfamiliar, maybe you'd like to check them out. Anyway, I find that those C-clips work perfect for those potion vials. And when you're customizing a figure and you have a belt with several of those notch ports, they work great. All right, so let's get on to his articulation. His head is on a barbell joint, which basically means there is a connection at the base of the skull and at the top of the neck. So he's got two connections. Sometimes that means you can rock his head back and forth. He's got a good rocking motion like that. He can do a full 360. He can look down quite a ways. He can look up quite a ways. Very good articulation of the neck. He's got the standard articulation for the Hacks line, but you do want to be careful with the robe. If you're going to do a full 360 with his arm, you got to make sure you twist the robe ever so slightly as you go. His arms can go down about that far. They can go up quite a ways, not hindered by the robe at all. There's no spin at the bicep. His elbows, I have to find them. All right. Yeah. There we go. Can bend 90 degrees up and almost 90 down. His wrists, I've talked about before. They do a full 360 because it's just a simple peg. The ones on the figure will bend up and down. And the extra ones, which I'll demonstrate right now, can bend in and out. So, excellent articulation on the wrists. And I love the fact they give you that option again. He does have an ab crunch, which will be hindered by his belt. But it is there. He also has a waist swivel, which is part of his construction. That is definitely hindered by his belt. But you can still get him to twist for various poses. He can do the splits about that far. He can kick his leg up about that far. He can get his heel back about that far thanks to his double jointed knee. There is nothing at the upper thigh. I forgot to mention that. His ankles can do a full 360. Can bend his ankle forward about that far and back about that far. So he's got excellent articulation for a 1/18 scale figure. And because this is a Hacks figure, you can remove the arms, remove the feet, remove the cloak, remove the hands, change body parts around to make kit bashes and customs very easily. All right, let's put this back on there, and we'll do a size comparison. Here he is next to a modern G.I. Joe figure. He's roughly about the same height. I'm not sure why it's coming in different on my camera here. My camera is really acting funny right now. I'm not sure why. He is a little taller, but still fits in pretty well. Here he is with a vintage G.I. Joe figure, as you can see. Noticeably taller than him, so he definitely fits in better with modern scale figures, 4-inch figures, than classic 3 3/4-inch figures. So anyhow, this has been my review of the Vitruvian Hacks Boss Fight Studios Felonious, the Wandering Mage. If you like this video, check out my channel. If you like what you see there, then please subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.